Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 8 at Belmont Park on Saturday is the Grade 3 Pilgrim Stakes. Let's take a look at the field of 2-year-olds perhaps prepping for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. $200,000 is the purse, and we're going 1 1/16 miles on the inner turf course. Your morning line favorite, Chad Brown, Javier Castellano. That's the 5, Voting Control at 9 to 5, and I really liked the way this horse won his career debut. They kind of ran away from him early, but he reeled in, I think, a very potentially useful maiden and Ambassador Jim, who was the favorite in that race.
Yeah, I like the way that he kicked in that last 1/8 of a mile or so of that race. He really kicked in with a good finish, came and closed that horse down. I thought he did it basically under strong handling too. I mean, I don't think this horse was necessarily all in to do it. You know, if you want, maybe a little bit of the negative perspective, I don't have anything negative to say about it. I thought this horse ran great. I mean, there really was a solid pace going on in that race. You had a Wesley Ward first-time starter who wound up finishing nowhere, but he sort of ran away from that field early, went a legitimate pace, and I think set the race up for closers in there. But this horse, he ran well first time out. He's a big threat right back.
That could be a very good point as we look at the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this year's Grade 3 Pilgrim Stakes, and we're not expecting a similar fast pace as the debut from Voting Control. That blue bar notes we're expected to favor horses on or near the early lead. Maybe that works against Voting Control, although our friends at Timeform US do have this horse third early.
Yeah, I don't think he's, he didn't look in his debut anyway like he just doesn't have any speed at all. That just happened in one of those races where the leader got away from them, and it did set up a horse like him to come running at the end. But there's no denying this horse really finished strong in that race.
I agree with the pace projector on the expected early leader. That's the number 7, Looking Ready, who will be trying turf for the first time. But this horse has an acceptable turf pedigree.
Yeah, he does. He's a more than ready. I always sort of expect him to improve on grass. Giants Causeway and the Dam side. The Dam only ran 3 times in her career, all on turf. She won one of those races, so there's turf in this pedigree. I don't love his first 3 career starts on the main track. Maybe he'll be better on turf.
Second Dam was a Group 1 stakes winner, not only in her native Japan, but also in France. This Dam's a 3/4 sister to Seeking the Dia, a useful turf and dirt horse in Japan, and Looking Ready as a half to a turf winner in Japan. Maybe she'll benefit from getting to the top, but like you, I wasn't thrilled with her dirt races. I think this field comes up a little bit salty for her, but she will be a big price, and she's expected to have a favorable situation. Let's take a look at Todd Pletcher's duo in here. We'll begin with the number 6, Maraud. Here's a perfect formulator fact. Past 2 years with debut winning 2-year-olds making their second lifetime start in turf routes. They were all in stakes races, by the way. They all won, and the ROI solid, $11.73 return on investment. I liked what Maraud did. She was no surprise. She was bet hard in her debut that she was going to be a good horse. And she ran really well. Yeah,
they bet this horse like they knew that this horse could run. I want to say this was one of those, right towards the end of the meet, the clockers, Welsh and Vesey, they really liked the way this horse was working. So this horse was no secret first time out. But he also really ran. I mean, I liked the way that he did it, Dan. He just sort of settled, tracked off the pace. He came with a really strong run through that second turn to take the race over. And when he took on a challenge from Desert Stone, who's back in here, he was able to turn that horse away. I liked the way this horse ran first time out. And I do like that formulator stat that you found was sort of perfect. Pletcher's great with first time starters, not necessarily with this kind. The 2-year-olds routing on turf, he can win with them, but his record's not great with them. And I feel like when they do win, it's because they're pretty talented. And I think that formulator fact that you put up shows that.
Welsh Vesey Clocker report, of course, for Belmont is available on DRF.com. Shoke is the sort of other Pletcher in here. Shoke, you could tell, is kind of a big, imposing-looking colt that I think got a lot of an education in his 2 races at Saratoga. In his debut, I mean, he was just sort of buried down inside for most of the way. Very, very green in the stretch, but he ran, and the horse on the lead that day pretty much dominated throughout. In the With Anticipation last time out, he ran okay again. I like that Todd's putting the blinkers on, trying to get some focus in this horse. And the With Anticipation was a pretty solid race. That Untamed Domain came back to win the summer at Woodbine with a 75 buyer.
Yeah, Untamed Domain ran pretty well up at Woodbine. That was one of those races that felt like a little bit of a battle of attrition, and he got it done in there, but he still looks like he's a pretty nice horse. I agree with everything you said about this horse. His debut is not a race that I love overall, but he was, sort of down inside the whole way. I thought he ran fine. I thought he really had a tough trip last time in that With Anticipation. I mean, just got in behind horses, losing position all through the second turn as the flow started to his outside. He wound up last at the top of the stretch, but he was running on again at the end. I actually felt like he took a big step forward last time, even though he got the same figure that he got for his debut. He's a maiden on the way in. I think he's a contender in here.
The 8 is Evaluator, the beaten favorite in the With Anticipation. You could understand after watching his career debut why he was bet so hard in the With Anticipation. It was against New York breds, but this horse must have been off 3-4 lengths slow out of the gate, came very, very wide into the stretch, and was like breaking sticks the way he won. The With Anticipation, better horses.
Yeah.
Horse does not have a lot of early speed. The pace projector could be against him, and I think there's now a question, how good is he?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it was a little bit different in the With Anticipation because once again, I mean, he didn't break as poorly as he did first time out, but he didn't break that great. He was, way back last, and he tried to do the same thing that he did first time, but he tried to circle the field around the second turn. And you know what? He got up into contention, but he just couldn't kick on with those horses when it mattered in the stretch. We'll see if he can take a step forward in this race. It'd be nice to see him get out of the gate a little bit this time.
Desert Stone down towards the inside, Jose Ortiz, Rudy Rodriguez, second to Maraud in the debut. This horse, strong turf pedigree, a little bit green, but I think there might be something here.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I think if you like Maraud in this race, you got to give this horse a second look because he made a similar run to that horse, took a big run at Maraud on the lead in the stretch, and then he just went a little goofy in the stretch. His lead change wasn't there. He felt like he was starting to drift in instead of running straight in there, and I think it cost him at the end. He ran very well to be second. I guess the question is, for Maraud, who was so professional and so strong in there, this horse wasn't that at all. Can he figure it out and take a step forward in this race?
Joe Sharp trains the remaining 2 entrants in this field. The number 2, Morrison, who's by the Factor, a solid turf stallion to be sure. Morrison didn't really break very well from the inside. I expected a good performance. That With Anticipation might be a race worth going back and watching. There were some trips in there.
Yeah, there were. Certainly this horse, I didn't think had a great one. I don't know that it really cost him all that much, but he was always sort of down, buried inside, behind horses. He was eventually clear in the stretch, but I think it was way too late. I don't think he was, going to win, but he might have been a little bit closer at the end. He didn't run as poorly as it looks in his turf debut.
Maybe he can be a little bit closer to the pace of the more alert break. Stolen Pistol also for Sharp adds blinkers, beaten 3 lengths at Kentucky Downs last time out. What a distance standpoint, what do you think of him stretching out? He's by New Year's Day, a young stallion.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't love this horse stretching. I don't mind the New Year's Days at all. I've seen a couple that look like they can run a little bit. There's a lot of sprint on the dam side of this horse's pedigree.
Blinkers might help him a little bit. I still think he's a little bit green. Sort of outrun in the early portion of his most recent start after somewhat of a stutter step start. Let's take a look at our picks for the Grade 3 Pilgrim Stakes. You really like the way Maraud ran first time out. I don't blame you at all. You're going with him. I really like the way Voting Control ran first time out. I'm going to go with this Son of Kitten's Joy. 5, 3, 4, 6 for me. Mike's going with the 6 Maraud in the Grade 3 Pilgrim Stakes at Belmont on Saturday. It's carded as race number 8, and it has an approximate post time of 4:37 Eastern. Good luck.